Hi, this is Nick with Living the Guild Life, and I just wanted to put together a two-part video on the subject of how you can take what I'm going to show you and in less than a couple hours be up and running and actually have a fully functioning Dungeons and Dragons gaming experience, whether it's in person or it's remote. And so I put together some slides, and we're going to go through the first part in this video, and then the second part will be how to kind of put it all together to create the actual environment. So let's get started. And again, the purpose and reason I'm doing this is to give this free content is to get 100 subscribers for my YouTube channel, so that I have the ability to have a better URL than what you see that crazy mess of stuff on the screen. And that's the reason why I'm doing this. Also, it's because I believe in family, and I believe in family activities, and I believe in doing stuff for your kids, with your kids, and to make sure that you are a part of your kid's life. This is my family. On my left is my son, Nick Jr. I started playing D&D when I was in about the 8th grade. My parents had gotten divorced. We moved to a new town. I didn't know anybody in my school. I had braces, glasses, and was the kid of divorced parents, which is like the trifecta for outcast at that point in time in Ohio. And so D&D gave me a safe space to deal with my anxiety and stress in such a way that I could be free to clobber monsters, or to vanquish dragons, or to accomplish tasks that would get me rewards and level up my character. D&D is the original open source of all open sources, because you can do what you want and play how you want and use whatever rules you feel like using. And that's the exciting part of the game. I got back into it when I was an adult in the 90s, when I was working for the Hard Rock Cafe, when a couple of my buddies that worked there, we on our time off from work, we'd play, and we'd have good long sessions, and we'd play then too. Then kind of stopped, had kids, got married. I'm now back. I'm in my 50s. My kid is 17. He's into gaming online with his friends, and they do cosplay. And he said, I'm really into D&D. And I said, I have something I think I can show you. And so together we've built a pretty good system for him and his friends to be able to play with him when he's here with us. And when he's not here, we do it remotely. And so I have enjoyed getting back into this activity. For someone in their 50s, having an activity that you have to focus on and that you have to bring to bear creativity and skill and work your hands and work your mind is good for the brain. It's good for the soul to continue to be active in your older years. So for me particularly, it's been a great way to have a common platform with my son, and have something of a common shared experience with him. I'm recording this session, so now we have this legacy of these, essentially what's the equivalent of home movies when we were kids. So we have these home movies of him and I playing together and enjoying this with his friends. I know where he is when he's with me, and I know what he's accomplishing and what he's doing and who he's hanging out with and what language is being used. So I feel comfortable that I'm making a positive inroad into his formative years as a young adult. And I got into this the second, third time around through Acquisitions Incorporated, which I randomly found online on YouTube. Fell in love with it, watched every bit of it for the last 11 years, all of those videos several times over. Find it's funny and irreverent and does not take itself too seriously. It's the way I like to play, and enjoys the interaction between people at a table, which is exactly what I'm all about. And then I started seeing some of the crafting that was involved in the set pieces on the show, and I wanted to get involved in that, so I started doing that. And that, combined with my creative storytelling capabilities, got me back into the flow of what I used to do back when I was in my 20s and back when I was in my teens. So that's how that all got started. Now, what I put together today is how you can use completely free technology to get a feel for what it's like to run an adventure and get involved in this hobby. How to use stuff around the house that's lying around that you can easily use to create the representation of a playing surface or an environment that lets you, without having to, again, invest a ton of money, because there is really $0 barrier. If you've got a computer, a phone, a webcam, and a brain, and paper and pencil, you can play this game for free today within the next 2 hours. And then I can show you how to spend a little bit of money to really do some pretty amazing things that make the quality of the experience even greater than it would be even if you did nothing. Theater of the mind means You go into a room, it's 10 by 10, it's a 10-foot ceiling, it's actually a cube of very smooth stone walls with very little mortar between the stones. It's very musty and damp. There's water kind of seeping out of a wall down to the floor. You don't see any furniture. You don't see any people. You see some rotting bones in the corner, and in the middle of the room there is a key. There's one torch lighting the room, so it's very dark, and you see a key in the middle of the room. What do you do? That's theater of the mind. When you hear that, that's what that means. I've described to you an environment. You tell me what you would like to do. I tell you to roll a certain dice. You tell me the result. Higher the better is usually the way it goes. And I tell you the result of your roll and what happens next. You investigate the key. Please roll. You rolled a 3. Not so good. You don't realize that the floor is actually an animal called a mimic, which imitates a floor. It envelops you and now starts to eat you. Roll initiative. That's it. That's D&D. It's not any more complicated unless you want it to be. So again, we're going to show you how to acquire all of the resources to do that. So first, free technology, existing free technology. Free accounts online on websites that you can use for resources for collaboration and play. Software that you make your presentations look nice. And then resources that you can use to stay organized and connected. So the first thing I wanted to show you is my recommendation, personally, is to have a separate Gmail account just for this hobby. Make a Gmail account, make it DnD Dad 23 or whatever you want, just for this, so that when you go to register for stuff and you go to give out your email address for contact, those people only have, or those websites only have just this. If it gets spammed or whatever, it's not affecting your personal email or your work email or the one you use for other things, just for this. Google lets you have a large number of emails under the same phone number account. And the benefit is not only do you get access to email, but you get access to storage, up to 15 gigabytes for free. You can pay for more if you want. You also get access to a matching account on YouTube because Google owns YouTube. So you kind of have all those resources together under the one account umbrella, and it doesn't cost anything. Again, with the G Drive, which is the space here, you can have all these, you can save documents and save pictures, and you can share them with people so that they have access to the same information, and they can even enter their information and it's shown to everybody. So a good foundation for this is to get a Google account. The next thing I would tell you is to get an account with the official third-party website of Dungeons and Dragons, which is D&D Beyond. It's a third-party vendor. So the disadvantage is if you buy anything here digitally, you only get it digital. If you buy something in the store as a book, you don't get the digital version from them because you didn't buy anything from them. So that's the only hook that people are really complaining about, is if I own the player's handbook, I still cannot access all the information in here. Some of it's available, but not all of it. You have to actually buy it separately through them. So I wrestle with the fact that I own some resources, and I have some on the shelf over there. I own some resources that I've kept with me forever. I don't have them in here. I haven't paid for them because I don't have access to them. I just have them in my hand. But I did get, for example, Tasha's Guide to Everything because I liked that resource and I wanted my players to have access to that. With D&D Beyond, once you get your own account, the most wonderful thing on here is the hardest part about setting up the game, and that's creating a character. It can be very involved, in-depth, minutia, lots of detail, challenging to manually write out a character on paper, to follow the rules, to understand the rules, to make sure the roles are right and everything. With this, you can actually go in step by step and actually build a character from one step to the next. I can decide that I want to use the, again, Tasha's Cauldron to Everything, which means I could have a custom lineage. I could have it be a medium-sized character, and I could have it be super smart, and I can choose to have it be, he's really good at cooking, so he's gonna, I'm just making this up as I go. He's really good, and he's very wise, and he's going to have proficiency in, let's see, what would go with cooking? Let's say nature. so that he has the ability to find ingredients. I'm just making this up. Find ingredients to be able to make nice stuff and food and things. Languages, let's say he wants to be able to speak Elvish in addition to being a human or whatever he is. And again, in addition to being a good cook, he's going to be, let's say he's going to be a soldier, which is a paladin is a soldier. So he has access to these innate things that automatically happen when you decide to choose that. So now I got to be proficient in a couple of skills. I think I'm going to be good in medicine because that kind of goes with cooking. And I'm going to be good at intimidation. I'm going to intimidate people. So I'm going to be proficient in those two things. My divine sense gives me the ability to have access to this particular skill. Lay on hands means I can heal people just with my hands. And so I'm level 1. I go forward and I just say, okay, I'm going to choose a, let's see. Now this is where you pick out your scores for your character traits. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use points, which means that I have 27 total. And it's kind of split them up this way. And I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to be super smart. And I only have 22 left. I'm going to be very wise. I'm going to be kind of charismatic. I'm going to have a good constitution. I'm going to be kind of extra dexterous. And my strength is going to be the remaining 4 points here. So now I've used all my points. I've clicked them in super fast and easy. It's figured out all the scores and all that good stuff. It's figured it out for me. I hit next. I want to call this Bob. No, actually, this is Steve. Steve, the chef. It's a funny inside joke with my party. And I'm going to be a, let's see, I'm a soldier. And again, athletics is going to be, could be deception. Tool proficiency could be a dice set. Again, this is all stuff that you have to go in and fill out. You got to start out with some equipment and you're done. And so once you get finished with this, you can really have fun with this. I've just created a character. However long that was, however much time we've spent talking to each other, I now have a character. What does that mean? That means that if you have an iPad and you can carry this with you to a live game, you have access to all this information there at your game. If you're asked to roll initiative, which means to determine who acts first in combat, there's my initiative. I click on it. It rolls the dice for me. It figures out what the correct modifiers are based on my chart, and it does it all for you. Just that alone, for brand new people, all of this information that's in here, all that and all that is super overwhelming. But if you know, I need you to roll an intelligence saving throw because you're being attacked with your mind, I can click on intelligence, I can roll. Oh, I got a 3, that's terrible. But it ended up being a 5, so I probably didn't save. So again, it is super fast to get involved. It can immerse you very well. There's a lot of information, but you don't need to know it all starting out. But being able to do things, let's say I want to deceive somebody into thinking I'm a better chef than I am. I'm going to tell them that I'm great. You roll a deception check to see if you're successful in convincing them. B, boom, that's a 20. A nat 20, which is the highest roll on the die, is an automatic success in the game. And I got a modifier, so I got a 22, but I got a natural 20. That's fantastic. A natural 1 is the opposite. It's an automatic fail, and that's very bad. But a 20, whoop, that's the best ever. And that was only my second or third roll. Again, once you get the feel for how this goes and the mechanics of it, the first time you roll a good roll and something good happens, I can guarantee you you're hooked. The other parts of what happens here is that you have access to quite a bit of things that are in here that I'm going to show you in a minute. But the most important thing I can tell you is that if you do decide to buy a resource book in here, you have access to it, and anybody else in your campaign that are linked together also has access. So this particular book I own. So if I decide I want to go in, what did I say, Paladin? All right, so I want to know what Oath of Glory is because I bought this. I now have access to this. If somebody else in my party and my campaign also wants to know about this, they can go in and type this and find the same information because it's all shared within a campaign. Now, somebody in the campaign has to have a master level subscription. I went ahead and bought mine for like $50 for the whole year so that everybody in my kids group can have access to this information just because I knew that I was going to be using it. There's a new player's guide in here. Shows you how to get started. It shows you the basic rules. Here's all the basic rules and information in here. That's all free. That's all that information is free. This information here leads you to YouTube and some Twitch and other stuff that relates to learning about how to do stuff. These are all the source books that are available. Should you choose to access any of those, you certainly can, but you don't have to, because the rules, the basic rules, are in fact free. So that's what's great about this, is it gives you, I haven't spent any money. I can roll dice. I can create a character. I can see what my character is. I can have my character interact based on the things that it does. I can look up stuff, some basic stuff on here. If I want to look up what a goblin is, which I think is basic information, unless it says it comes from a specific book like this here, you have to pay in order to have access to that. But if I want to know what a goblin boss is, it's just a regular piece of, oh, Monsters Manual, you got to buy that. Let me see if I can find something that allows you to see regular information. Okay, so regular goblin. There's the stat block, which means that's what a goblin is. It has an armor class of 15. What does that mean? That means that if I'm going to try to fight a goblin, I'm just trying to teach you the game even as I'm going through this. If you're going to try to fight a goblin, that means that if you're going to attack, and let's say that I want to attack an unarmed strike, which means I forgot to put together my weapons, I hit this, it needs to be 15 or better. I rolled a 16, plus 3 is 19, that means I hit. What does that mean? That means that my damage is a 2 because it's just my fist, and now you're fighting. So again, you don't have to know everything, but this takes a lot of the heavy lifting off of your brain as a new player, and it puts it into the system. So D&D Beyond, hands down, the best tool, and anybody can get access to it, and you can all link together. When you do link together, when I roll that, that shows up on everybody else's screen so they know what I rolled. No cheating allowed, no cheating with virtual dice. So the next thing that I want to show you is Discord. Now, there's a lot of controversy about what Discord is, what it does, and what people use it for. Just like all social media platforms, it can be used for good things, and it can be used for very bad things. There's no difference between Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms that allow for free speech, again, allow for speech that isn't necessarily appropriate, what have you. But the beauty of Discord is that you can decide to have a space that is defined exclusively by you. It's called a server. So your server, once you set it up, you invite just the people you want to invite. You have access to the things you want to talk about based on the channels you create to actually discuss basic information. And let's talk about your miniature character. Here's basic rules about the game. Here's session 0, which means we're going to sit down the first time we sit down, and we're going to just talk about how we want to play. What are we comfortable with and not comfortable with for subject matter? What are we comfortable with as far as the limitations for what you feel is appropriate for the game? We all get to agree and define that. We all decide on when we can get together and how long we can play, and what happens if you're not there. Basically, a social contract is what that's for, and we all have to agree. Then we have our episode 1 chat here, which basically talks about what we've done so far. You can import videos, you can import pictures, you can import text, and with the official bot or piece of software that connects D&D Beyond to Discord, which is called Avre, you can see it right there. If I decide I need to look up the spell sleep, I type in spell sleep, and the D&D Beyond content, oh, it didn't do it. That's interesting. Let's see. Huh, something's wrong here. Let's try something different. Let's try monster goblin. Oh, something is really definitely not working today, and I don't know why. Maybe it needs to be in a regular text chat. Let's see if it goes in here. Huh, something's not functioning with Avre today, and I'm not sure why. Normally it pulls the information right up. Oops. Avre. Oh, I got something turned off somewhere. I'll have to figure out what I did. But usually it'll pull the information right up. Like I was talking about that over here. I go to session 0. And, okay, see where it says B, D&D Beyond, the link, it pulls it right up. And that pulls it right up as well. So it makes it really easy to be able to draw information into your conversation, and allows you to pull in, like here I typed in this spell, and it pulled the information directly from D&D Beyond, so you can access it in Discord. What it also allows you to do is create channels that allow you to access a video camera. It won't do it now because it's being used for right here. Otherwise, you'd see me in Discord, and everybody else could choose to do that or not. It's up to them. If you don't, you just have an icon in your box, and you can have up to 25 people. I also could choose to share my screen. So if I decided I wanted to share this particular slideshow, I could share the slideshow and my conversation with the people in here. They can hear me, I can hear them, I can play music in here off of another bot called Groovy, and anything that's on YouTube, you type in the YouTube into here, you hit play, and it plays the music as background music, so you can have environmental spooky music, or you can have your favorite hits, and they would be playing in here and it'd be no problem whatsoever. Of course, you wouldn't want to record with copyright music, but a lot of the environmental stuff is actually copyright free. So this environment gives you the ability to have multiple players together in one space. You can see and hear each other. They can see you. They can see your screen. You can share anything on your screen as far as your workspace and your play space, and everybody can have conversations together with the addition of visual elements. That's what Discord can do for you, and it's a wonderful free piece of software as well. The next is Heroforge. So let's say you've got your character. Now you want to figure out what your character's supposed to look like. Well, when you go into Heroforge and you type in heroforge.com, it loads it up. And this is a company that sells printed minis and the files to print them yourself. Their designer that they have at the front end lets you design it. And in addition, if you look on the slide, let me flip over to the slide, you see right here that I put together a, from the company's website, you may download copies of the materials, image capture screenshot on Sky Castle Studios website for personal, non-commercial use, which means that if you want to build a character on Heroforge and you say, okay, I want to make a, what am I making? I'm going to make a dwarf. And so there's my dwarf, and I want to give him some, let's see, what do we got here? Cloak, okay, that's pretty cool. How about some gear? How about some, he's going to have, let's see, what does he have? Typically he'll have an axe, so he has an axe in his hand. And over here he could have a shield, some cool shield over here in his other hand. So now he's got a shield. And let's see, I think I'm going to give him, on his back, I'm going to give him a cloak. So now he's got a cloak, as you can see there. Look, you can move it in 3D space. This is fantastic. Again, haven't spent any money, totally free, and allows you to visualize what your character is going to look like. Let's see. Okay, now I need a pose. I need a cool pose. Let's see. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. And this one. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Ooh, superheroes. Oh, he's crouching down. Crouching tiger. Hidden dwarf. And it's like he's about to fly. That's kind of goofy. Okay, this one's pretty good. Okay, so I kind of like that. So you can visualize your character, and as the rules say, you can screenshot. And you can save that screenshot for your journal. You can save it as a token for your gameplay. You can save it as part of your avatar on systems or on DnD Beyond. So let's get some color in this guy. Let's go over here and let's hit theme, because that's super the easiest way to do this. And you have all these themes over here. Let's say I want him to look like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And for some reason it didn't, let's see, oh, let's see. Yeah, we'll give him red hair. So there's a dwarf. How long did that take? A couple minutes to be able to put that together? Again, you could, trust me, you could spend all day in here. You can make monsters, you can make characters, you can make non-player characters from your adventure, which is people that they interact with, put them all together, come up with poses. Actually, there's a pretty funny one in here that you can actually do as a pose. He's dead. Blah. So that's even pretty funny, as you can even make one that's dead. So now that I have this, I can screenshot it and save it. I can come back over to this character, and I can come in here and I can change the picture in D&D Beyond to what I just built in Heroforge. Now, if you choose to print, it's a little expensive, in my opinion, to print directly from Heroforge. You can buy the STL for, I think, $6 or $7 and find someone who's able to print the mini for you, and then you can paint it yourself. Or not, you can stay virtual, and again, you're at $0. So that's how wonderful Heroforge is in the grand scheme of being able to create a library of poses for yourself and such. So let's see, what do we have next? Then we have, again, if you want to get creative and you want to actually be able to do stuff with these files and cut them out and remove the background and use them in virtual space in 3D, you need some type of editing software program. I use Corel Paint Shop Pro because once you buy it, it doesn't deactivate. You just don't get the new features. So I have X6. I think they're on X9, 10, or 12 now. This works perfectly fine for everything I try to do with it, which is to basically cut out backgrounds and layer things on top of each other. Whatever you choose to use, if you're inclined to do so, great. If you're not inclined to do so, that's perfectly fine. But as you can see on the screen and the slide, there's lots of things you can do with an editing program that will be helpful for this particular hobby. The next thing I wanted to show you is two pieces of software that work together. XSplit is essentially a way of controlling your webcam and eliminating your background, so you don't see that I'm in a bedroom. You actually see that I'm in this workshop, and it does without having to have a green screen, because that's involved. This does a really good job of emulating a green screen with proper lighting. And I have like a work light in front of me and one behind me. You can see it does a fairly good job of either having a background or taking the background away completely. And now it's completely gone, and now I'm over top of what I'm trying to show you, which is pretty cool. But don't put your hand off screen, because then it goes away. Anyways, so that's what XSplit does, is it allows you to be able to effectively... Now the free version has this logo, and for some reason in Discord and other places it spins it around and is backwards. Don't know why, but I don't care. It doesn't cost me any money, so I'm not worried about it. The other one is OBS. What OBS is this software, which essentially is the front end of being able to put together all these different parts so that I can broadcast out and or record a bunch of things put together in a single screen. Open source broadcast software. As it is, obsproject.com is entirely free. Again, at this point, I've shown you how to build a character. I've shown you how to get access to the basic rules. I've shown you how to get access to information or resources, how to make a visual representation of that character and screenshot it, how to edit it if you want to, how to be able to control your webcam so it looks pretty cool on camera, and be able to record your sessions as home movies for your kids and for yourself forever that'll outlast you, all with entirely free stuff. Free is definitely in my price range. So the last thing I want to show you is Owlbear Rodeo. Now what's really cool about Owlbear Rodeo is Owlbear Rodeo allows you to be able to kind of put it all together. And it essentially is a web address that you log into. And once you log into that web address, it stores in your browser, Chrome, and I don't know about any other ones, but I know for sure Chrome as an extension, all of the information I'm about to show you. You can come in here and grab a pre-existing battle mat, which is basically a bunch of squares. And in the D&D world, 1 inch and 1 square is 5 feet. So any 1 inch grid would be that. It comes with pre-made tokens that you can put a little guy over here, and you got another little guy over here. Ooh, that guy's huge. Why is he so much bigger than that guy? I don't know. It's weird. And then maybe another guy over here, and whatever that is. And you can then move around and say, okay, this is your character. Your character is there. And when you log in to this on a separate browser, meaning your players, you then, this is the player view, and this is the Dungeon Master view over here. So I have added these to the play surface, and now they see them over here. This is all they see. So if I decide I want to hide this guy and you can't see him, you can't see him until I'm ready to have him spring into action, and now he's available. And what's great is your players can come in and say, this is one guy, and there's another guy here. This is my character. I want to move him. He gets moved, and everybody sees that. And everybody can control their own character in their own browser, and it's totally free. It is very basic in what it does, but what it does is pretty amazing. If you want to get even fancier, you can take a basic mat, a picture online. Oops, nope, that's the player view. You want to find, and you could like Google Cragmaw hideout, and you'll find a picture. And once you pull in the picture, you can actually hide portions of the map from your players on the DnD on the screen here. So I can actually black out this, and they can't see that. And when I decide I want to reveal this portion of the map, I reveal it, and it's now available. All in the same way. And if I decide that this wolf right here is going to run down this passageway, again, now it's interactive and dynamic. Me describing it verbally, I might be great at that, but you may not be good at that. I might be fantastic at describing this whole process to you and being able to describe what it looks like without you having the ability to do that. It's okay. Because what ends up happening is there are helpful tools to supplant the things you might not feel comfortable with now until you get comfortable. And say, here's what you see. You see this passage, and you see water coming down out of the thing, and you see that there's a bridge right here. This guy is way too big because you can't see, there you can see the bridge now, and there's a guy on the bridge. That's it. Now you're playing D&D. Now, if you want to get even more fancy, you can take that map, rotate it 40 degrees in your software of choice. You rotate it left 40 degrees. You then squish it top to bottom to 70% of its normal amount. You're supposed to do half, but I like 70% better because I like the way it looks better. And then you have what's called an isometric view, which means that it is somewhat three-dimensional using a two-dimensional image. And you get this. Now, as you notice and may remember, these are cut out screenshots from Heroforge. So what I have done is I have taken a Heroforge image, I've used my software to cut out the background completely and turn them in such a way that they match up with the grid, which is basically about 3/4 view from the top. And I've now created minis in 3D isometric view, where they can actually see things that I allow them to see. And if I decide that they are now going to be getting access to this passageway over here, and I unveil that, and these guys are hidden, they won't see those spiders until I decide to let them loose. And I got a cute little mouse here, and I can control the cute little mouse, and the little mouse moves around, and they're not sure why. It's a little distraction. Gives them something to think about while they're working in the room. Free, 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 free. All of what I've shown you so far is totally free. And within a couple hours, if you follow these steps, you can be up and running too with your own D&D game. So now we're going to go into the next step of this. My next video was done after the first version of this, where I forgot to show Discord, so I'm going to show it again and some of the details. But the next video is going to basically put this all together and show you at least 4 or 5 different ways to play remotely, and even with a live player and remote players together, to be able to get yourself up and running. I'm super excited about being able to help you guys launch yourself into this hobby. And again, there's no excuses anymore with the technology that's available, especially in the last year where the pandemic has forced everybody apart from each other and forced the stress levels to go through the roof. There's no excuse not to try to find a way to give yourself a safe place to kind of deal with that stress and try to deal with that anxiety. And D&D is a fantastic way to do that. It helps you relate to your kids and helps you relate to them in a way that they feel safe and comfortable, and still are able to reach out to their friends and have fun with their friends in a safe environment that you could kind of monitor and control. So this will be the end of the first video. The second video is coming up right after this. On to the next adventure.